Har du sett va? Rosa mannen.
Kommer tillbaka.
Tack vare Fredagsexter va?
Ja.
Så är de faktiskt här och får uppleva detta med sitt riktiga hemland då va? Så för första gången utanför Australien, en stor applåd, du med också va?
Oh ja,
Bjorn again!
There is I suppose you want me to get that, Frida?
Oh, hello, Benny.
Oh, Bjorn, it is you, yeah?
Also, you are glad to be back at home, or do you
Oh,
think?
Bjorn, you know, the city of Gothenburg is so romantic that I think it brings a new sparkle back to Frida's eyes.
Oh, you know, Benny, you have to forget about Frida.
But Bjorn, I can never forget Frida, you know?
I don't know if she will ever come back to you.
No, I think she will. I think that Sweden will do it for her.
Why don't you give me, why don't you give me, why don't you give me a call? Why don't you give me, why don't you give me